We're doing something different today. We're going to do channeled messages. I'm going to use my cards, but they're my watercolor cards, so I'm going to be channeling. And we'll just see what messages come through. I'm asking my guides, your guides, and our highest selves to help bring through the most helpful message for you at this time. And these are your three choices. It's going to be pick one, pick two, and pick three. So you want to take a deep breath. Know that it's a general reading, so just take what resonates as truth for you. Use your own intuition to decide if one or more of these message picks has a message for you. Okay. And I'm going to start with pick one. Pick one. You chose the Masked Owl from this deck, and I'm just going to pick it up while I look at it for a moment here. Insight, Wisdom, Foresight, Messenger. You may be getting messages from your spirit totem, the owl, lately, right? And I think it's referring to you being a wise one that carries wisdom, not from this lifetime only, but many lifetimes. Pick one. You have a very, very intense stare. Your eyes are wide open to something. You've been studying. You've been looking. And you also are very much competent and poised and knowing. So it's very well-rounded. Yeah, like I say, well-rounded, and we got this bubble here. It's we got number 26 here, so that could be significant to you, or if you reduce that down, it's an 8. An 8 is the infinity symbol, and I kind of see that here also in the owl's eyes. So this is just a very knowing, spiritual pile. You are definitely spiritually focused. You're well established in your path. It's not new to you at this point in your life. We may have had visions of people, of ancestors coming to you, of animals. Maybe carrying an idea into fruition. There's a lot depending on you. There's a lot riding on what you're doing. Like you've got something in motion, and now you have to keep it up. Okay, I'm going to take some of these cards from my Okay, I'm just going to read one at a time here, okay? I think you enjoy moving your body, this flight that you're taking. Maybe you do it in the form of dance. You've been taking steps forward. Allowing yourself to be grounded. So taking steps to allow yourself to be grounded specifically. I feel like you've been doing that near a source of water. I feel like you are definitely taking a step forward, but you know that what you're leaving behind is heavy. It's something that you've had to bend over backwards for. Something that may have made you feel like an ass. Something where you felt like you had to keep an eye on your own back or cover your ass or something like that. You've been holding up a lot of moving parts, a lot of things that some are resting right on you, some are lightly hovering above you. So it's like even when you take your step forward, it will be resting on you more. It's like you're ready to take on more responsibility. You're being perpetuated and pushed forward because somehow the ground underneath you, it's not as stable as it was. But you really are stepping into the unknown. It's like impossible to know what you're stepping toward. But you're trying to do it with as much grace as possible. And without, like, you still feel like you're being played by the past, right? It still feels like you're on a puppet string from the past. It's like maybe there's people trying to interfere, or just the thoughts and ideas or the doubts that keep coming up from out of nowhere. Very practical things, but also things like doubts about letting go of something that's been tethering you. Something that knows your secrets, knows where your weaknesses are, knows your vulnerabilities. Maybe even trying to keep your enemies close in a way, or something like that for some of you. You've been sort of acting as a filter for something, like something's that's coming through you. You're protecting somebody else from it, from the brunt of it, and because you're better equipped to do it from the position you're in. But once you step out of the way, they're going to feel the brunt of it. That might be why they're holding on to you. Could be a job, it could be a group of people or a specific person. But you seem well guided and protected, like you can get through this. It's just your own self that's kind of taking the hesitation. And it might be a little part of you also that's afraid of the unknown, because there's so much unknown. But you've done this before. You're very well equipped to go into the unknown, because you're wide-eyed, you're ready to take it in, you're ready to listen, you're ready to act with the wisdom that you've already gained and the proof that you've shown yourself that you can respond to what you have to respond to. I'm going to take this card now. It's like with grace, you're just rising up. At points along the way of the unknown, there'll be parts where you kind of come into clarity. And it's like, ah, yes, I can see I'm on the right path. I can see I've made a good decision. But then you'll go right back into that place where it's like more cloudy, and then it'll be a little while before you come back into a place of clarity, and you're like, oh yeah, I got this. I'm doing the right thing. I know that. It looks like actually by separating from the thing that's been tethering you, you allow it to grow too, not tangled up with you anymore, not dependent on you anymore, not holding you up and you not holding it up, but it gets to collaborate with others and it rises up as well. So it's like you're initiating a process that's helpful for all parties. Maybe you feel like you have to veer off the path where you thought you would be. This is causing you to veer off the path and maybe even question at times whether you're on the right path because it's not clear. It's like the path of going through your emotional body is where it's not clear, but that does seem to be where you're being pushed. You've been holding yourself back from that with some sort of protective wall. Maybe even by holding on to this situation so that you didn't have to take the step into the unknown, which is your emotional body, which is something that's more of a feminine, receptive energy that's flowing. You are... See how this owl is going towards things like... There's darkness here, and sure, the owl is ready to go right through it, but there's also this blue on its back, and it's like not even been paying attention to the blue. So now it's time for the owl to kind of look into the blue, and the blue is the emotions, the water, the flow state, the feminine energy. There's something there that, even though it doesn't seem clear at times, you will come into times of clarity, but that it's important to traverse through it. There's something to be learned by going through it, and then you'll see how it all blends together. Right now, the masculine energy is more prominent. It's in protective mode, it's in strategy, and you're coming into a time where it will be more balanced. And you'll actually end up leading with the feminine energy, but with much clarity, with so much clarity. You'll know that's the right thing to do. You'll want to do it when it happens. There's a path of just going through the emotions, which might seem very uncomfortable. There's a path of being mostly led by the masculine, with the feminine taking a back burner. And then there's this balance, this perfect balance. So perhaps it will be or has been important to let both sides of you lead at different times, so that you could have experiences that would make you understand more and more about those energies and how they work, and what responses, how the response to those energies. The reason why the masculine energy was getting so big and strong was because it was trying to compensate for the unknown. But really the unknown is where the feminine energy, the water, is able to fill in and knows what to do. There's a lot of courage and bravery that has to go into this path that you're on, but you will be guided. Your guidance will come through your intuition, the feminine. You have to receive it. You have to be in the receptive mode to receive your guidance. Your wisdom is the masculine. It's what you know from the experiences you've had. So it's also very valuable. But if you always let it lead you, you'll always only go into what's known. You'll always repeat the same acrobatics of managing things, which has been serving a purpose for you because you know how strong you are now. But things just want to be so much more smooth for you. Look at the difference between these cards. Look how smooth this is. It just wants to get a lot smoother for you now. Yeah, it's time to let yourself soar and be set free from the burdens. Okay? Whew. Let's get a song for you. I was just looking at my box here of cards, and I just thought, well, how are we going to end this reading? And I see my song deck, so I'm just going to see about getting a song for you, okay? Pick one. So when the owl takes flight, it knows that it has the skills that it needs. It knows that it has keen senses to protect it. And it knows that the wind that it uses to take it from one place to another is not in its control, right? It has to trust that the wind, the air, is there. If the air wasn't there to carry it, you know, under its wings, then it wouldn't work out. But it knows that the wind's there, but it doesn't know what the wind's going to feel like at any given moment, or it doesn't know how the wind's going to shift, or it doesn't, you know, it knows that it can handle what arises, and that's where you're at. You know what you can handle, what arises, so you're ready to step into the wind. Oh gosh. Perhaps what you are leaving behind is someone that you love very much, because you got the song Goodbye My Lover. And the song is by James Blunt, and boy, it's a really great song. Goodbye my lover, goodbye my friend, you have been the one for me. So hollow, baby, so hollow. I haven't heard the song in a while, I'm just kind of remembering. Did I disappoint you? Let you down? Yeah, I feel like you are going to disappoint the people that have tethered themselves to you, but you know, we did see the message that came through said that they will soar too. It's just that you're tangled right now. And goodbye my lover, goodbye my friend. Could be a friend, it might not be a lover. You have been the one for me. So this is someone who's very important and who is important to your path. Very important to your path. So when you step away from this entanglement, you can do so knowing that you can be grateful. And that eventually they may be grateful too if they're not right away, right? It's just one of these life things, you know? It's like, if someone has to go first when it comes to growth, right? If there's a big tangled mess, someone's got to sit down with the knot and start untangling it. And you're the one who's been prepared to do it. And you're ready to receive the guidance. You have the strength, the stamina, the resilience. You're a new soul. You came here to do things a different way. This is your soul's journey. Your soul wants to do this. I'm a new soul, came into this strange world, hoping I could learn a thing about something. Like you're trying to learn. Your soul is trying to learn here on Earth. Learn about give and take. All the things you've learned up to this point in the relationships that you may be leaving behind are valuable for you to go forward, right? That's wisdom gained. Wow, this sounds like a very bittersweet message, but of course, only take this if it's true for you. You'll know if there's a relationship or relationships in your life that have needed to be let go of. You'll know this because this isn't the first time you thought it, right? This isn't the first time you thought it. If I'm saying it and it's like you never thought of it that before, this probably isn't your message, right? So only take this if this is a truth for you. Okay? Let's see. I was going to do full channeling, but I don't want to leave it there, so I want to get some custom advice from the custom advice before I let you go, okay? Because it's just sad. Like, I guess maybe it's personal too, because like when I used this song, Goodbye My Lover, I used it to like cry out painful parting of ways between me and someone I loved. And it helped me cry. It helped me just express the bittersweetness of knowing that I love someone so much, but that I can't stay there because it's not right. It's not working. They're not with me. You know, they are a burden on my back because they're working against me. And I gave all ample opportunities, and I bet you have too, right? Because look at you. You're willing to bend over backwards for people. You're helping people left and right. I mean, it's more than one pressure on you, I can see. All right, go for it, it says. That's your advice card. And also reflection. And what I like to note about reflection is, yes, like spend some time reflecting on what we've talked about, right? But also that people offer us a reflection. Oh, there's another card here. People offer us a reflection by what we see in them and how we react to them. It gives us a reflection about our own selves. So make sure you take the time to see what is reflected back to you when you do this parting of ways, or when you go for it, or when you start to soar, or when you untangle yourself, or when you let go of a burden. You know, it's going to show you something about yourself. And it may be like looking at, why was I holding up that burden? Like maybe tracing that back in to your foundation. This is the fourth house's foundation, and it's also home. It's who you became as a result of the home you grew up in, and also your foundation. So who you are at a really core level. And I think that whatever the situation is, as you leave the situations that you're going to have to leave behind to go forward on your journey into the unknown, you are also going to be shown some things about why you were operating that way that may tie into your roots. Okay? So it's valuable information. You can glean even more wisdom from knowing those things, right? And understanding why you are the way you are, why you were prone to that, and moving on from there. Okay? I hope that's helpful. Pick one. It was very interesting. And if you'd like a personal reading, you can check out my website. And if this is helpful, please consider giving the video a like. And maybe we'll see you next time. Thanks for spending your time with me. I picked two. You chose the Falcon card. So I'm just going to pick it up and look at it. Focus, action, purpose, aspiration. Okay. It's the number 21, which reduces to a 3, so there's communication. Could be a factor in this, but you seem to be very focused. You have been shown some options for your path forward, and you are focused in on what it is you want to do, what you need to do, and what actions to take. You maybe have formed a big strategy, including rest stops, what to do if something doesn't work out, what if something is a dead end. I feel like you are probably being guided. You're probably using your intuition to make these choices, or at least the idea to do so. And perhaps the reason that you've done so much planning about it is because there's a lot of density, there's a lot of shadow and darkness that you're still carrying as burden with you. And so you've been very strategic on how to maneuver to kind of let yourself have the most out of the energy you're going to exert. You have a very intelligent, calculating mind. You are aware of the dark, but you're not afraid of it. You have angels with you. I think you know that. Perhaps even like Archangel Michael, because he's willing to deal in the dark, right? He can go in the dark with you. Yeah, you may ask Archangel Michael's protection, because I saw like this cross as the sword. Looks like there is some communication, but it's so... It could be very subtle. It could be in the ethers. It could be done through manipulation, manipulative tactics. It's like the communication could be about shadow aspects. Alright, pick 2. Let's see. Get 3 of these. Apparently we're getting 4. Okay. Interesting, because this came out in pick 1, so if you were drawn to both piles, that could be why. But I'm going to start with this card right here. Okay. Okay, pick 2. Even though you're so focused, you're still very aware of your surroundings, very aware of all the options, all the moving pieces, all the untethered things that you don't have control over. You've taken them into consideration, you've looked at them, you like know where that is and where that is and what that looks like and how that acts, and it's almost like you can look at a bigger picture view and make and see all the puzzle pieces, even when they're scattered and not put together yet. You may have talked to people about plans and collaborated and even tried to join forces with others at times on this journey. You have had to leave some people behind. You've had to interact with people who you never thought you would, people that have a completely different view than you. You may have even like adopted some of their ways as a support to you. You've consulted ancient knowledge, you've consulted friends, family, you've picked apart all the parts, the moving parts, the parts of your brain, there may have been painful conversations that you've had to have already. You've done shadow work where you've kind of looked at some of the parts of you that were working against you, that were limiting you or sabotaging you. You can see that you only fit into certain places because of some of the things that you were doing to sabotage yourself or limit yourself. And that there were organizations or places that supported those parts of you to keep up that in that manner. A few times you've been kind of almost swept up in a stream of energy that kind of swept you off of this, but you got out of the way and regained your focus and have really like stood your ground and gone against the grain where needed and flowed with it as needed, and like a chameleon ready to blend in where you had to. Made yourself look bigger when you needed to, made yourself smaller when you needed to, minimized some things that were bigger than you let them seem. You're leaving a trail. It looks like a trail of blood, but maybe it's a breadcrumb trail. Just both. It's like you can trace back the wounding patterns back to their origin, and you're leaving a breadcrumb trail on how to get out, or maybe even how to go back in if you needed to. It's not been a straight line. It's like you've completed a lot of it, and then there's more to do. Maybe at some point you did adopt a story to tell yourself that made yourself feel better about some of the stuff that had happened that was painful and wounding from the past, and then that like placated those wound patterns for a while. But you knew it was just like a temporary fix. You knew you have to like deal with that again at some point. But you're kind of healing that stuff in a different way. You're taking a rest on it for now, while you take in the bigger picture. Maybe as you've done this, there's been a lot of attention coming towards you. People also wanting to see what you're doing, and people willing to follow the trail that you've left, and then want to ask you questions about it, like you have learned the importance of boundaries. You keep good boundaries with people. You're rebuilding your whole life. You're creating a new story for yourself. You're very well accomplished. There is like a part, like some wounding patterns, about 4 of them, that are being held back by a limiting, I would say limiting, but it probably feels really good, a story that you're telling yourself about it. Like maybe, oh, like I don't have to deal with that, or oh, I already healed all that, or oh, that's not relevant to me, or something like that, which really made sense and really was comforting and looked good, and it made sense. So it's like, but now maybe you're starting to see little places where there's a disconnect, and where the story's like poking you even now, because it's not exactly the truth. There's more to know that would allow the truth. As you go on this journey of healing those things, you are learning to balance out your masculine and your feminine energy. And the emotional body is definitely an important part of it. And you're going to come through periods of time where things are more foggy, and then periods of time where you get more clarity. And all the while, overall, bigger picture view, things will be getting easier and easier. The stories, you start to see the holes in your stories, in the things that you used to tell yourself that were true. Like now you can see like that's not the whole truth, because you see the holes in the story more than you could before. I don't think you're a person that would generally lie to yourself, but it's just human nature. Like you've not done anything wrong. It's just saying like, yeah, now you can see where there's room for growth. Whereas before, you have done a lot of growth, you know how to grow, but there were some things that you weren't ready to grow through on yet, because you were doing all this research. You were looking at things from different angles. You were searching, seeking, finding things out, listening maybe. Trying on different things. Okay. What's emerging is some of the access to some of the mysteries of life. Being able to see through other people's stories very easily. Just being very adept at looking at things and knowing whether they're true or not, knowing whether something's out of place, knowing whether it's safe to build on. Letting there be unknown, knowing that you don't have to know it all, that it is a step-by-step process, that there is always more to know, and that sometimes people need their stories. Like, I feel like that's something you're learning. Like, sometimes people need their stories. That sometimes you can go into somebody else's lane, and sometimes somebody else will go into your lane, but not always. You know, that might not always be appropriate. That if you just stay on your path and stay inspired and take the actions towards your inspiration, that you will get to where you're going. That the path will be much clearer than what you've prepared for. You've prepared for every obstacle, everything to go wrong. Now, it doesn't have to go that way. You can just follow your inspired action from your heart. You know, let your heart light you up, and then you'll be on your way. But it doesn't mean that it was a waste of time necessarily for you to look at all the aspects, because think of all the interactions, all the people that you got to interact with and look at and study and be with and understand and, you know, and know. And all of that's going to be valuable for where you're going now. And maybe where you're going now is in the place where you don't have to take that into consideration anymore. You just trust. You just trust because you know that you can handle things. You know that things are unfolding as they should. You know that there's always going to be some unknown. You know that your path is your path. Their path is their path. That what works for them is not necessarily going to work for you. Okay. I'm going to get a song card for you, pick two. I know I was going to do channeling, but I'm also doing a couple cards here at the end. We got Moon Dance by Van Morrison. It's a marvelous night for a moon dance with the stars in it's a yeah, you can take it a lot easier than you have been. You don't have to prepare for everything. Just, you know, like the moon dance, the vibe of that is just like, you know, there's a lot of unknown things. You're going out into the dark. You're just going to gracefully take your time through what happens. Just the Way You Are by Billy Joel. I love you just the way you are. So all these people around you, including yourself, are all on the path they're supposed to be on and are all the way they're supposed to be. So you don't have to fit a mold. You don't have to be a perfectionist or fill anyone's expectations or expect of others. You just focus on staying in your own lane, enjoying your life, and staying connected and balanced in what your heart is telling you and what your truth. That's enough. Yeah, one concept that was kind of lovely that came to my awareness the other day, I was watching a Jason Estes video. He has a Facebook page if you're interested, if it calls to you to check him out. I do like to, you know, take into consideration what he shares because it's usually pretty interesting. I haven't agreed with everything, but I've liked that too, you know, that I found that I knew where I stood in comparison to him on some things, so that was nice. But what he did mention, which I really resonated as true for me as well, was that, oh, I just lost it. Oh, that it's not a collective experience. There's no collective truth. We are all unique beings looking at life through a unique lens. Now, because I've done astrology, I know this for sure. I know that every single person, even identical twins, have a different set of energy influencing them in their life, and it does play out. I've tested it, I've experimented with it, I've talked to a lot of people, I've looked at hundreds and hundreds of charts, and I know that everybody gets a unique view. So when he says, to let go of the idea that there's a collective reality, I loved that. That felt like I have tears coming to the back of my eyes when I recall that, because that is true to me. So you see how that feels to you, but if that feels like freedom to you, it feels like, how could it be anything else but that? And I feel like you are a person who could confirm that, because I think you have observed a lot of people, a lot of views, a lot of perspectives, a lot of expectations, a lot of scenarios, and come back down to the understanding that it's yours that matters. So it may be a relief to also adopt the idea and the knowing and the understanding that there's no collective reality. We're all having our own unique experience. Okay? That's freedom. That's freedom. Let's see if there are any cards from the Advice Oracle. Victory. So whatever you're trying to achieve, know that you can get there. What would love do? So here we did talk a lot about paying attention to the heart, letting the heart lead you. So if you're in question about what your heart wants to do, ask yourself, what would love do? New beginning. So everything that you've been doing up till now was useful, but now you can start new and fresh without operating in that same old way, if you'd like. And 6th house is referring to the day-to-day life, work, home life, like all of it, what you do in a day, acts of service, self-care, responsibilities, the ability to respond. So your ability to respond to the information that you have about where you need to go and what matters most, implement that and make a habit out of it. Do it every day. Every day, asking yourself, what does victory look like for you? What would love do? And what is it that you're giving yourself a new beginning on? Anything that needs to go can go. You can have a new beginning in any moment, in any day, in any hour. Right? So give yourself permission to be you, to follow you. Okay? That's the advice that's coming through for you today. I hope that it's helpful. Thank you for being here. And maybe we'll see you next time. Thanks, Pick 2. Hi, Pick 3. So I'm just gonna do this little bit of Palo Santo here before we start. Thought I'd share it with you. I just love it. I love it, love it, love it. Okay, I'm going to put it in my tray over here while we get started. So you chose the Giant Panda card, and I'm just going to turn it this way so I can read it. It says innocence, gentleness, harmony, balance. Okay. You may be a parent, you may be a mother, you may be just caring for young children at this time. Or in general, that might be something you've enjoyed or done a lot of. You may be a grandparent. You got the number 38, that may be relevant. That reduces to an 11, which is a master number. You may be a visionary. I think you might be a Cancer or a Cancer moon, where family is very important to you. You might be a cook, like a chef, or someone who bakes a lot. community is very important to you, feeling protected inside of having your place among others, among the community. I think that you're a creative being, a creative soul who might do like art, painting perhaps, enjoying time in nature. You might be a storyteller or enjoy stories or movies or going to theater. I think you've had to recover from some very painful things that happened in your past. Some of those things may still plague your mind in ways at times, with a bit of anxiety or depression coming over you at times. You do look like you know about your guidance and your protection and your angels. And maybe you also feel like you have a devil on your other shoulder. Like it's just something always like that you're grappling with, or that like you have a lower desire or something that you feel you shouldn't desire or want. It might just be like that you feel like it's too selfish to want freedom or time alone or your own space, or to have a day off from taking care of the children or something like that. I think that you may have had to do some factory work at a time. It may have been a lot on you. It may have been something that you didn't enjoy very much at all. I think that maybe during that time, or even now, you envision a brighter future for yourself. You envision a time when you won't have to do this. Maybe you're looking forward to retirement or something. Maybe like fantasy movies like Alice in Wonderland appeal to you. Maybe you are like that caterpillar puffing. You know, maybe you like to puff. I guess I'm referring to cannabis there. Maybe that's how you keep your harmony, your balance, your innocence, your gentleness is through indulging in the herbal medicines. Perhaps you've done some sort of Tai Chi or yoga or something where you're utilizing your intention to move energy through your body. I think you've found that very helpful at times. The letters F and V and T. The number 9. Those could be relevant to you. Maybe you observe people like fighting around you, like maybe it's just like people doing politics, or maybe you're watching the news or something, and it's like just something that's like in front of you, but that you're not that invested in. Also, you seem really burdened while even though you're trying to take care of the family and the home and children, perhaps it's like that's kind of like maybe you'd like to focus on it more, but you're so distracted with all the other burdens that you can't enjoy it as much as you'd want to. Maybe you feel a little melancholy and a bit like you don't love what you're seeing, what you're focusing on. Maybe there's like a lot of gossip and something in your ear. If it's not the devil in your ear, maybe it's actual people that are just like talking negatively, complaining a lot. Maybe you feel stabbed in the back at times, or have been in the past, and maybe it's hard for you to trust people. And maybe it's like you have been put in a position where you couldn't even protect your child. You felt like your child got injured, and maybe you've been sad about that. Maybe it's a loss of a child, where you couldn't protect them, or you couldn't be there the way you wanted to, and so now you're stuck with the memory of the loss and the revisiting and the doubts in your mind about what you could have or should have done different. It's like a lot of the background noise seems to be louder than your angel. but you're a gentle, loving soul, so it feels like a lot of burden when all that is. So I think that you do make it a point to stay in balance. I think that the things that have happened are in the past, and that you've really worked hard as a result of that to maintain your innocence and gentleness and create harmony and balance in your life. And I think that's why you do what you do with the art and the outdoors and the yoga, or the using your energy that way, and just observing and not like jumping into dramatic situations. Okay. We're going to get 3 of these cards. And we got 4 instead. Did I press? Are we recording? Yes. Alright. Alright, I'm just going to look at these cards one at a time here and continue channeling, okay? Maybe you do feel limited by the burden of the past, but it looks like you've healed it, so maybe it's just like guilt about moving on, even though, right? Like it's like you've understood what you needed to understand about something that you're still feeling under the weight of. Maybe it's making it hard to breathe. Like maybe you don't want to go enjoy life. Like you're content to stay balanced and gentle, but not willing to go out and aspire to more. Maybe you feel guilty about that or something. Like maybe you feel like you should be doing more because you had a good foundation, you had a good family life, you have loving people around you. But you feel stifled in some way. You feel like something is holding you back. Even though you have made a lot of progress, even though you learned a lot, you know a lot, you carry your burdens well, you know. And sometimes it's easier than others. There are still times that you can feel freer, that you can breathe lighter and easier. And I think it's at times when you are letting yourself be in the unknown. Like, you know what you had to lose, but you don't know what you have to gain. When you let yourself be in that kind of mindset, I think it feels a lot better. Okay? And like the idea that all of that, what happened could have happened for a purpose that is greater than you, that you just can't see yet. Yeah, so out of a bleak beginning, you are growing something that is beautiful. And again, the wounding of the past is going to be put on top of it like a crown in a way, but it also built the foundations and is the reason why you're propelled forward. So it may be that you go through these growth spurts and then you rest, and you go through a growth spurt and then you rest. And it's just been both. And so this is like teaching you how to get into balance, and you have a lot of practice being in balance. Maybe you eat a very vegetarian or high vegetable diet. Maybe you are really good at spending a lot of time out in nature. You hugging trees, climbing trees. Climbing up to see the bigger picture view. Enjoying things along the way, and like finding the places where it hurts and putting band-aids on them, putting comfort on them, making it so that your foundation is solid, that what you build on, that it doesn't hurt while you build it, but then when you get to the top, that it shows where you came from. You'll show where you came from once you get to where you're going. You'll do it in the most beautiful, like natural, in tune with nature kind of way. It doesn't seem like you're really like pushing You're really going with nature, going with the flow. You're doing things that let you lose track of time. You're taking inspired action. It's not that you're not acting, it's that when you're acting, you're doing what you're inspired to do. Sometimes you do have to make efforts to do things that help you feel good. And this may have taken you on a winding path where you saw things you didn't want to see, where you may have not always liked what you saw in the mirror, but you're learning to. You're learning to see the beauty in the differences and the unique way that you've experienced it. You're learning that there's a bit of, I want to say, like the good with the bad. Everything's dual. That in blending them together, that you can make something completely new. You may be compartmentalizing a lot. Sometimes you get like an inspirational idea. That sets you off in motion, and you know it's from your angel. You know that it's because you got still and you heard your angel. And sometimes it's been very emotional, and sometimes it's been just very grounded, practical advice. Like wash your hair, like do the dishes, you know? Or like, remember this time this happened, you need to have a good cry. You are content to sit back and look and listen and watch and see. And I think that even if you start to let your mind fill in the blanks, that you'll realize that's what you're doing and kind of step back from that even. I think that you've recognized that you could sometimes get carried away with telling yourself the worst case scenario. That's not true. So you've recognized and don't let yourself go there anymore. You could even recognize it very quick on some things and just stop mid-thought and just be like, oh, I'm doing that thing again. Maybe you really do see life through the eyes of emotional stuff, but I think you are coming into more balance where you're offsetting that with practical things too. Maybe people always saw you as more emotional and the practical was kind of on a back burner, and now you're blending both. And maybe you're doing that by looking at an example of someone who's doing that. And you're realizing that where there's obstacles, it's okay. That sometimes if you like get yourself into a pattern or a loop of doing something again, and you realize that it's okay. Like you can still giggle or smile at yourself and just be like, oh, I did that again, kind of thing. Like, you know you're on your way somewhere great. You do. I do believe that. You know that you got this. You know that there may be a lot of chaos around you, but you know what to do. And you're just gonna work to stay balanced and gentle during your process of doing it. And maybe you're just being more of an example to the children around you, or to people who have children. Yeah. And maybe that's why I got the idea that it was more hands-off with the children, because it could be just that you're an example of what it is to, what things to take into consideration to be a good foundation for children. Okay. You can sniff out when something doesn't sit well with you or that's a lie, and you do believe what goes around comes around. Think you like to be playful and imaginative. You maybe like reptiles. And robots and space, like space exploration. Astronomy, perhaps. You may have started communicating about your feelings. That might be something that really helped you. You might have done it through a journal or just confiding in a friend or a therapist. I'm getting like a rake, gathering up, making something out of the fertile soil of the dead things from the past. Maybe you do composting. There is a lot about what you see. And it's like you may be looking outside of yourself a lot. Maybe it's mostly for entertainment, though. It could be to distract yourself, and it could be your habit to look outside of yourself for guidance, and that might be why you listen to your angel as much as you do. But there may be ancestors there too, niggling at you from the past. That might be a lot of what the chatter is. Maybe you see it as the devil or the darker side, or when you're being pushed towards desires, but actually it's your ancestors, and they want you to pay attention and they don't want you to feel selfish about going inward and taking time for yourself and self-care. Yeah, they've been bugging you about that a lot. I feel like they're so happy that I said that. They want you to shine, and they know you can. Wear your crown proudly. Wear your unique hairstyle or your hat. What feels right to you, but just you wear it proud, and you will do that. You won't easily do that by looking at for feedback outside of yourself. You'll need to take your feedback back. You'll need to get it from within yourself. Your reassurance, you gotta get your power from inside you, from in your heart, from knowing yourself and knowing your values and knowing what you want and prioritizing that, because you're not a bad person. You're not in danger of being a bad person. It's not selfish to care about yourself. In fact, in the paradigm we're stepping out of, the lack paradigm, people who don't have their own cup filled up are using forms of vampirism to get approval and advice, and just needing each other and clawing, climbing, expecting of each other. When in actuality that would all be solved if we just stopped and filled up our own cups first, and we forgave from the overflow of our own cup, meaning self-care until your own cup is filled up, until you feel loved as you feel, as you make others feel, as loved as you want others to feel. That's your energy telling you that you need to love yourself that much. And then when your cup is filled up, then you give. Then you can give from the overflow. Then you can share your love. Then you can be admiring others and cheering them on and honoring them. Being inspired, instead of admiring, I want to correct that because I think that might still be in the lack paradigm. We want to be inspired by and honor each other. Be inspired by and honor yourself. Be inspired by and honor yourself first. That's a big part of the message. And they wanted you to really feel like you've been seen. That's why they kind of went into all those other things. Okay, let's see if we can get a song for you from my song deck, okay? Pick 3. You gentle, beautiful soul, you. Yeah, much different energy from my first 2 piles. Okay. This is interesting. We got 3. Heartless. How could you be so heartless? So this is somebody who's gotten their heart broken, and I think that you can relate to that. That has happened to you in your life. Am I wrong? Like, you also know that you're headed someplace else, right? Like we talked about how you're growing something and you will shine, and it's okay to wear your crown and things like that. And it's like, this song, Am I Wrong, is about, like, I see something else. Like, I've been watching for a while and I see that there's something else here. And am I wrong for wanting to go in that direction? And it's like, no, you're not wrong. And then happier. So whoever broke your heart, you'll want to heal until you get to the point where you're hoping they're happier and that you are happier, right? So the places that hurt, love yourself there. The places that feel like they need to cry some more, let yourself cry and comfort yourself the way you would anyone who was crying over a heartbreak. Okay? Because it's okay to shed that. It's okay to be tending to yourself through what you've been through. And it may have been a long time ago that it happened too, right? But it's time to let yourself be as happy as you think they are without you. You think that they left you behind and heartlessly walked away to be happier. And that may have really hurt, and likely did really hurt. So you may still have a little bit of that residual pain to process through. This is just so you know, I've been through a heartbreak. I understand that it's easier said than done, but if you can just know that you're going to sit with that pain the same way, like if your child got hurt, if a child that you love got hurt, and it was a real bad wound, you know, how would you tend to that child? You wouldn't let them think that they just had to live with the scar for the rest of their life and that it was always going to be painful. No, you would kiss that boo-boo until it was better. You would be with them until it was better. You would reassure them, you know, and maybe that's what kind of care you need, is that gentle, loving care to allow the boo-boos that are still there to heal, to cry themselves out. And the advice cards you got were lust and environment. Okay, so we did get in the beginning, like, there was a devil on your shoulder that you didn't want to give in to those lower desires, right? But this is an advice card. It's saying maybe you can actually indulge in some things that are pleasurable for you, and pay attention to the environment you're doing that in, right? Like, your environment needs to be looked at. Your environment is very much affecting you. So, especially you. I think that you're a very sensitive soul who can absorb a lot from your environment. So, make sure you are giving yourself that time in nature and that you're eating well and you're having your own space. Like, that's all very important. Salt baths, things like that. Turn to your friends. Make friends if you don't have any. Like, let yourself have more of the things that are enjoyable from the perspective of being a human, right? Because say you're a spirit, you can't indulge in lust. You know, lust can get you in trouble, sure. Like if you let it be the only thing that leads you, but you're not just lust, right? Know the difference, like know what you're getting into. You can't just like go and have a lustful, passionate encounter with somebody and expect that you're going to get married, right? That's going to hurt you, right? Like but you can have a lust with yourself, right? Like you could indulge in lust in another way. And maybe it's like once you maybe it's like, you know, indulging in something that's been nagging at you so that you can reframe it or think about it a different way, or see if it's really even that appealing, or that something that you want to resist that much. Because what we resist persists. So if you're pushing away things like that, they may be coming at you stronger. Yeah, that feels like true too. Like, okay, so if you don't want to indulge in lust, you at least have to stop pushing it away. So find the reasons why you judge it. And then look at 3 reasons why the opposite is true. To try to neutralize that energy of judgment around it. Because what we resist persists. So what's in your environment and friendship. Those are more advice cards. And then flip the memory. So when you're revisiting the heartbreak and things like that, maybe you judge lust because you feel like that's what led your partner away. A lustful moment, right? Flip the memory. Go into the memory, you know, and give yourself what you needed in those moments. Let yourself tell a new story about what actually happened. Whatever you feel is true, accept that it's true, but then look at 3 reasons why the opposite is true. Really move this around in your memory, and you can move through the stuck energy that way. And then the last advice you have is decide how you want to feel. Exactly what you're going to be doing when you flip the memory, and when you change your judgments about lust, and when you let yourself be happy. Okay? You know what you had to lose, but you don't know what you have to gain. The unknown is actually your friend here, because there's limitless possibilities in the unknown, and you will line up with how you let yourself feel. So you want to decide how you feel, and decide to let yourself enjoy the parts of life that you may not have been allowing. Now, I know that you have been doing things and taking steps to find enjoyment in life, but there still may be a part of you that felt guilty for doing it, and so you may not have fully enjoyed it yet, right? Because your ancestors were really trying to put through that message of like, it's okay, it's not selfish. And so maybe look back into your childhood and like, who made you feel bad or like it was selfish, or who mirrored or gave an example of what it was to be selfish, or that it was wrong to put yourself first or put yourself in the equation at all. Okay, so this is how we get out of the lack paradigm, is we put ourselves in the equation. We consider ourselves when we're making plans. We want the win-win-win, meaning I win, you win, we all win. And if you don't win in the equation, then it's not the solution. Right? Okay. Whew. Pile 3. Thank you for being here. Thank you for spending your time with me. I really do honor you and your process, and I can see that what you're bringing to fruition out of this experience that you've had is beautiful. You will shine, you will stand tall, you will be happy, and it won't necessarily be in spite of what you've been through. It may be because of what you've been through. Okay? The perspective you gained, the strength that you knew you had, that was able to push you through toward your goals. Okay? I hope this is helpful in some way, and maybe we'll see you in a future reading. Bye now.